Hello, in this video, I want to share with you how to cut a beautiful bob on those clients with a crazy hairline, like this one. This is a client of mine that, gosh, I've been doing for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. She has extremely thick hair. And at first, when I started doing her hair, I struggled a lot with her hairline because, as you could see, as I had her hold it up in the picture there, her hair grows to the center, and it grows to the center not just on the hairline, but kind of up into the nape of the hairline. So, and also some of the challenges I have that I face with this client, and you might as well, and that's why I decided to post this and talk it through, is that not only is her hair thick, but it's also wavy and textured. So I'm having to deal with a lot of thickness and a lot of movement in her hair as well. A lot of also a lot of swirls. You can see in the back here in her crown area, which is a very common area, um, to have movement and swirls in the hair. Um, that can be a very challenging part on a bob. So as always, in all my videos, I always recommend mapping out your haircut first. So in this instance, I have separated the front from the back and then took a center parting down the center of the back to divide it off into 4 panels. The center of my 4 panels is always the apex, the very center of the head. Now, one of the way I conquered this challenge in my client's hairline is that I simply remove it. So in this instant right now, I'm mapping it out and I'm looking at her hairline and looking at how far up I need to go to alleviate the growth pattern that is undesirable. And so I've decided to go up a little bit farther, just right underneath the occipital bone, staying within the nape area. I chose to go up slightly higher on my client because she's also very thick. And it also helps me to remove a little bit of bulk. So as her hair is growing out, it keeps it from getting really thick and that big, thick bell shape. So here I am using a texturizing shear. The one I'm using is actually by Cricut, and I like to call it my shape within shape shear. I will have to look this scissor up and post it in the comments below if you're curious about that. If you are, make sure you comment in there and asking me about it, and that'll remind me to put it in there. Anyhow, as you can see, I'm just simply using a scissor over comb method. I apologize that it's kind of off to the side here. I don't work with an assistant in the salon, so I just simply set my phone up while I'm working, and then I go back in and edit it. Um, so I try to do my best so that you guys are able to see what I'm doing here and learn from it. So anyhow, I am using a comb. This is a carbon comb. I actually get this comb um, from a company called Jacqueline Pro, and they're actually a color company, but they also have styling tools. And this is their large cutting comb, and I am using the wider, and I'm just kind of flipping it back and forth using the wide part and then the thin part. And you can see here it's switched back over to the thin part. And what I mean is how far apart the the little the comb pieces in there are. My brain's not working today. Anyhow, as I'm using the blade, I'm just, scissor over comb, opening and closing the blade until it removes the hair. It just gives it a softer vibe. And then I want to make sure that the neckline is nice and clean, and I'm using a feather razor. Simple feather razor, you can purchase it at Cosmoprof, Salon Centric, any of the beauty supply stores. It's a simple feather razor. I just am using this. I always recommend to always use a clean blade when you're going to be cutting on the nape area. Keeps them from getting a rash and moistening the neck. And here again, I'm using the finer part of my comb and just going over it sideways with my razor. This is so that I can get it even a little bit more tailored there. It really helps with the longevity of the haircut. Um, and here you can see I'm going against the growth pattern and having that razor on the top of the comb. that helps me to get it in a little bit deeper. You can see on this side, I'm going up from underneath and going in the opposite way the hair grows and going back over it with my razor. This is just a really quick, easy scissor over comb method to remove the hair. I like to do this on my clients because I feel like it gives just a softer edge than going in and just using simple clippers. Could you use simple clippers? Of course you could. But to me, it doesn't give you a very soft or as a feminine finish. But I'm able to get it in a lot tighter with that razor. So now we're going to start, I'm going to start moving into creating the bob. So this is where you create this connection. One of the key points I want to point out here, just to back up a little bit to remind you, is that I mapped it out. And what I mean by that is that I mapped it out thinking about where I wanted to remove the bulk and then where I wanted to start my bob perimeter. So I did a forward diagonal parting about an inch below her occipital bone, making sure that I'm just removing all the hair in the nape area. And then from there, I'm going to start using a forward diagonal, mirroring that same one I used in the beginning, and start creating the length and the perimeter that I want. So as you can see here, I am combing the hair down from where it lives, being very careful not to create a lot of tension in the hair. And I am mirroring the diagonal with my comb and my fingers. And now I'm just going back in, apologize for my head. Here again, I'm creating these videos while I'm working behind the chair. And hopefully each video I do is going to get better and better. But anyhow, here I'm just using my comb to secure the hair and just going back over it to make sure that I've got a nice, solid, straight line. And then I'm just going to move up the back of the head, mirroring that diagonal that I created in the beginning, and working from side to side. Here, I'm just going to use my scissors. As you can see, I closed them completely, went in with the tip of my blade, and then followed it out with my comb. And just noting that if you're watching, I am mirroring the diagonal with my scissors and my comb. That just helps you to keep on point with the geometric shape that you're creating in the perimeter. And if you saw a few minutes ago, I had my fingers on each side of her head. I do that because that is making sure that I have my exit points even on both sides. It really makes it easier when you're working from side to side, making sure that your exit points match on each side. That just ensures, it just helps keeping you on point so that you don't get one side shorter than the other or start losing the geometric shape that you're trying to achieve. Sometimes we get so caught up in making sure that we have this straight, blunt line and that we're not over directing and we're not pushing the hair, that it's easy to forget about the geometric shape, and before you know it, you've got one side shorter or longer than the other side. So there again, I also am, as I moved up into the crown area where the cowlicks are, I did switch my comb to the wider tooth part. Um, I do that because I want to make sure that I am not using any tension on the hair there, because this is where you have a lot of growth patterns here, a lot of swirls. And if you're not careful and you're using too much tension, it's very easy to create tension, and before you know it, you're not going to have a one length. You're going to end up having some graduation in the perimeter. So if you're curious about what scissors I'm using, I am using scissors by Hiroki. You can find that link in my bio. If you're curious, you can't find it, be sure to comment below. Let me know. I'll be happy to forward you a link to it. You can always visit my website at onpointhairacademy.com and hit the shop page and go to Hiroki shears. On that site, if you do decide you want to try those shears, use the code so you can get 15% off. These are a 7-inch blade. I like to use a long blade when I'm working, doing a bob cut. It just helps me to not open and close my shears so much. So it just, for me, I like it because it just gives me a nice blunt line. I'm not opening and closing my shears so much. Hey, if this video is how, if you're liking this video, if my videos are helping you in your craft, I'd first love for you to leave a comment below letting me know. But hit that like button and subscribe. The more I grow, the more quality videos I'm able to provide for you. So here's a little tip, a little point I want to point out here is I really want to create a very soft A-line on my client here. And as you all know, an A-line is going to be shorter in the back and longer in the front. So one of the ways that I'm ensuring that is by combing the hair straight down from where it lives and then tucking it behind the ear and then cutting. This helps to do two things. First, it helps you be able to keep that front longer because you are over directing it behind the ear. And second of all, it really helps to alleviate getting that little deviation that you can sometimes get when your hair is traveling over the ear. This is just another, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do, and I know in some of my past videos I've done it a little bit different, but I like to show you a variation of the technique. Because one of the most frustrating things for me, um, and I'm sure for you as well behind the chair, is when you're cutting a bob and you go through and you blow dry it, and there's this little hole that's cut right by the ear because of, how the hair pops out from the head. And by doing the technique of combing the hair straight down and then tucking it behind the ear, it really helps to alleviate that ear issue. So if you are a new hairstylist, I just want to share with you, first, that's you picked a great profession to be in. I just hit my 40 years in June, and I can't even believe it. I was literally 17 years old when I graduated from both high school and beauty school. And not in a million years did I ever imagine that I would be still doing hair after 40 years. It has been an awesome, fabulous career. And one of the most favorite things that I've had the blessing of doing is training many, many, many stylists onto becoming very successful hairdressers. The one thing that I am most passionate about is haircutting. And I just wanted you to know that because if you are a new hairstylist and you really struggle with haircutting, then I just want to let you in on some upcoming news with On Point. I am going to be releasing a online course that you can go at your own pace. It is called the Classics of Haircutting, and it takes you through all the haircutting disciplines that you need to be able to create any haircut your client asks you for. And not only be able to create it one time, but be able to create it time and time again. Because honestly, that's your bread and butter behind the chair. You've got to be able to create not only beautiful work, but work that is consistent. And you know what the best part of really being able to understand haircutting and understanding what you're doing? It frees you up to be creative, which we are all artists. So if you're interested in that, be sure to click the link in my bio and go to my website and just shoot me your email and say you want to be part of my emails, and you will be first to know. So here I'm moving on to creating a beautiful bang or fringe for my client. She has very thick hair, even in the front. So I like to divide it off into sections when I'm creating her bangs. One of the things I want to point out here for you to notice is that her hair is not sopping wet. It is damp to dry. And the reason I do this is because she's got a lot of movement in her fringe area. And I really want to be careful not to cut that too short. Sometimes we can do the most beautiful haircut, but if you cut your client's bangs too short, there's a good chance they might not come back to you because this is what they're looking at every day in the mirror. And I don't know about you, but I've had my bangs cut too short, and it doesn't leave me very happy. So here I am, the first section, I'm wanting to create a square shape, and I don't want to create too blunt of a line. So although I am cutting it straight across, I'm using the very tip of my blade and just point cutting it off. And I was using my shears, putting the hair into my shears so that I didn't want it too fringy. I wanted to create some bulk in the perimeter. And then I wanted to create a bit of a taper. So on the next section, I pulled it up, brought my second section down, and elevated up. And using the previous guide that I created, I just cut that last section off, and it creates a nice layered taper, as you can see. And then going back in, I'm now using a texturizing shear. Here again, this is by Jacqueline Pro. The link is in my bio. And I'm just going in, and any point that's there, I'm just kind of taking the end of the hair and opening and closing my texturizing shear a few times to take away any blunt lines that are left. Her hair, we do low lights in there. She's got very silver hair, and sometimes it can look a little choppy, and she likes it a little softer. And that's when you can go in with a texturizing shear with the teeth closer together and just create a softer end result. And before I flip to this part of it, I do want to point out, go back and look at it if you missed it, but I do take those texturizing shears in at an angle and just kind of go in at the perimeter of the bang as well to soften that line. Here I'm just going in and cleaning it up. I've dried her hair, and this is where all the detailing comes in and making it even more precise. I'm now sitting in an eye level with my client, and I find that it's much easier to lift the hair up and slowly let the hair fall section by section. By doing this, I can really see where the deviation is in the haircut that I need to clean up. Sometimes when we just pull it all down at one blunt line and we keep cutting, and then we move the hair around, we see all these little pieces, and it takes more time to clean up. Whereas if you just take the time and lift it up and let it drop section by section, it makes it so much easier to see where that point is, and it's a lot easier to clean up. And here again, you can see on the side, by doing that technique, there is no deviation over the ear. I've got a nice clean line from the back to the front. Here again, I am moving that top section to the side because her hair is so thick. I just want to see, I'm seeing a deviation there, and I'm trying to find exactly where it's at. So now she has shared with me that she wants a little bit of movement in there, and she's still feeling like it's a little bit bell-shaped. So I'm just going back in, and all I'm doing is pulling it up and point cutting the ends off. And one of the key points I want to point out when I'm doing this is that I'm going straight in with my scissors. The more angled you go in, the more you're going to see it. The softer you want that blend to be, go straighter into the hair with the tip of the shear. You can see how it just gives it a soft layer in the exterior of the hair. Here again, I apologize for this being on the very corner, but I really wanted you to see how I was going in. See how I'm going straight in? I really wanted to get that angle there on the end of her hair where I was combing, or where I was cutting. If there is a haircut that you are struggling with, or you just love some tips on, be sure to message me. Leave me a message, let me know, or leave in the comments below, because I would be more than happy to do a little tutorial on it for you. And again, if you are a hairstylist that is wanting to master your craft in haircutting, be sure to visit me at onpointhairacademy.com and register to get my newsletters and my latest blog posts. Again, remember your haircut is not about you, it's about how you make your clients feel. Happy haircutting, and thank you so much for watching.